Welcome to We Learn. This is session 6 of Organization Dynamics. Today we are going to cover different topics like culture, levels of uniqueness in human mental programming, organizational culture, organization culture, levels of culture, social responsibility of organization. Then further we will cover ethics in the business, theories of ethics, Indian ethos, organizational learning, sources of learning, culture, organizational culture, dimensions of culture differences, Zohri windows, dimensions of cross culture by Hofstede. Then further we will cover the diversity and managing the diversity. 3-stage model will be the part of this session. So let us define the first topic of today's session, that is culture. What is culture? Culture is basically defined as a collective programming of the mind which distinguishes the members of one group or category of people from one another. Culture is learned, it is not inherited. Sometimes by observation, the person and the organization is able to learn most of the things. So if you want to change the culture of the organization, there must be a learning mechanism, because culture is not inherited. 3 levels of uniqueness in human mental programming can be defined, like every organism is specific to the group. The 3 levels of uniqueness in human mental programming can be categorized on the basis of the personality of the human being, culture of the organization, and human nature. Right? So basically the programming is being done in a specific way so that the individual can learn from that thing. Because there are certain things, or we can say there is a culture which cannot be inherited, rather it can be learned. So inheritance, if we talk about the inheritance basically flows from top to bottom. So organizational culture. Next topic of today's session is organizational culture. It is an idea in the field of organizational studies and management which describes the psychology, attitude, experiences, belief and values which consist of personal and cultural values of an organization. Yes, it is true. जब आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की कल्चर की बात करते हैं तो उसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ों का कलेक्शन है. ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम करने वाले लोगों की साइकोलॉजी, उनका नज़रिया, उनका एटीट्यूड, उनका एक्सपीरियंस उस पर्टिकुलर डिपार्टमेंट में या उस पर्टिकुलर फील्ड में, हर इंसान की काम करने के लिए या लाइफ के प्रति उसकी क्या वैल्यूज़ हैं, क्या बिलीव्स हैं, या वो किस कल्चर से बिलोंग करता है, उसकी पर्सनल वैल्यूज़ क्या हैं. All these collectively plays the role in building the organizational culture. It has been defined as a specific collection of the values and norms that are shared by the people and groups in an organization, and that control the way they interact with each other and with the stakeholder outside the organization. So depending upon the organization culture, people share their values in the organization, and similarly they also share some sort of data with their stakeholders also. Now the levels of culture are partitioned into several sub-levels. Level 1 corresponds to artifacts. It is constructed physical and social environment in organization. So basically when we talk about the physical and social environment in an organization, that level comes under the artifacts category. The way the organization people deal with the situation, it indicates their values. So the level 2 belongs to the values. Level 3, basic underlying assumption, that is the hypothesis which comes gradually to reality and exclude the little variation. Sometimes to inculcate any sort of culture into the organization, that culture basically originates from the hypothesis, and slowly gradually this hypothesis get converted into a theory by excluding little variations. Now, social responsibility of the organization. The privilege of having a job and the personal responsibility of job holders to develop the necessary skill and prove their worth have shifted towards the right to have a job, and the organization responsibility to provide training and guarantee full employment. Now the culture is going to be changed entirely. Previously, a job holder has to prepare themselves for the job by means of training and all this, so that this culture has been transformed to the right to have a job, and the organization take full responsibility for the same by providing full employment also. Ethics in business. Business ethics are the desired norms of behavior that exclusively dealing with the commercial transaction. जब हम commercial level पे कुछ भी transaction perform करते हैं, then two parties whosoever is involved in the business, they have to follow certain ethical principles, and that ethical principle basically comes under the category of business ethics, because ethics helps the market to do its best. Law cannot alone protect society, but ethics can. Yeah, it is true. You can force the person for following some sort of law, but actually in terms of protection, ethics plays a very important role in the protection of the society with the help of ethics. So ethics is good in itself, right? Now let's see that how ethics and business are related with each other. If ethics is there in the organization, it can lead to the profitability, culture and codes of conduct. These two things are related with each other in the sense, like to conduct any sort of business, we need to follow certain codes of conduct, and code of conduct are the subset of culture. Next is environment and economy. To run any sort of business, any organization runs under some specific environment, and for the operational purposes the organization has to rely on to the economy of the country. Ethics also helps in developing and coping up with the competition. Ethics and business have their own values in decision making. Both ethics and business are working for the society and considering that society as a market only, right? Let's discuss some theories of the ethics. Religious morality, that is consequentialism, that is theory on ethics. Utilitarian Kantianism, those who accept all works as sacrifice for welfare of all, they are free from all sins and attain the success. Yeah, it is true. अगर आप हर काम को, जो भी काम आपके सामने आता है, अगर आप उसको एक सैक्रिफाइस की तरह लेंगे और आप ये मान के चलेंगे कि आप ये काम इसलिए सैक्रिफाइस कर रहे हैं ताकि कुछ लोगों का भला हो सके, then according to this theory that was given by the theories of ethics, you get free from all kind of sins or pap and attain the success in your life. But those who work only for their own benefit and profit eat only sins. और वो लोग जो सिर्फ अपने फायदे के लिए, अपने बेनिफिट या प्रॉफिट के लिए काम करते हैं, वो किसकी तरफ मूव होते हैं? सिंस की तरफ और पाप की तरफ. And they get defeated in their purpose. And it is true, they are bound to be defeated with their purpose. Indian ethos. According to the Indian ethos, According to the Indian ethos, each soul is potentially divine. It means I have immense potentialities and you have infinite potential. So according to the Indian ethos, synchronize your private benefit with the public benefit. Right? Karmas is to be done in the spirit of yajna, that is nurturing each other. Whenever you are doing any sort of work, do it with the spirit of yajna, that is we are here to fulfill each other's need, serve others, give your best for the goods of others. Excellence is in work is yoga. So all Indian ethos are highly focusing on this sort of ethical values which help the organization to grow in their values. Organization learning. What is organization learning? When we talk about the organizational learning, it means it is a process, and every process can run with the help of other subsystems. And these subsystems helps to enhance the self-learning, because learning is not a one-step process. It is a gradual process. It is an ongoing process. So it involves the collection of different subsystems. So organizational learning is to be related to the growth process. If any company, industry, firm or organization want to grow in the market, then it should focus on to the organizational learning, because it is required for sustaining the development. Learning is required for sustaining the development. It is true. There are different sources of learning also. First is action, introspection, failures, whether it is self failures or others failure, appraisals, task forces, job rotation, company conference, organizational development intervention, reflection and review. Learning can also be imposed with, or it can be done with the help of books, journals. Learning is a kind of observable feature, and observation can be derived from the styles of seniors by providing trainings, meetings, visit to the organization or visit to other organization rather, counseling session, newspaper, magazine. They all are the very good sources of the learning which can help the organization to grow. Culture. All people are the same according to the culture. It is only their habit that are so different. It means by having different habits, culture defines one person from that of the another person. Culture is a human-made part of the environment. Culture is not like a genomic factor, it is a human-made part. Core values and peripheral values are two important factors that distinguishes one person from the another one. Now let's talk about the organizational culture. Innovation and risk-taking is a kind of culture that can be built around the organization, so that organizational culture can be transformed. Attention to detail, outcome orientation, people's orientation, team orientation, aggressiveness and stability. They all are the parameters which actually comes under the category of organization culture. There are different dimensions which reflects the cultural differences. The first one is power distance, individualism and collectivism, uncertainty avoidance, masculinity, femininity, long-term versus short-term orientation, personal values differentiate culture inside the organization, manager's background, interpersonal skills, decision making, political environment. These are the parameters which comes under the category of culture. Next is Zohri window. Actually, Zohri window is a kind of window which differentiates the whole thinking scenario in 4 quadrants. In the first quadrant, there is an open for discussion. Second is my blind spot. Third is their blind spot. And the fourth one is chair blind spot. Zohri window differentiates the whole 4 quadrant into 2 basic categories. Things that can be seen, things that cannot be seen. Right? So all the parameters are partitioned into are basically reside in the conscious and subconscious mind of the human being. Dimensions of cross culture by Hofstede are power distance, individualism and collectivism, uncertainty avoidance. ये वो डायमेंशंस हैं जो क्रॉस कल्चर को इंडिकेट करते हैं बाय द हॉफस्टेड. लॉन्ग टर्म वर्सेस शॉर्ट टर्म ओरिएंटेशन, पर्सनल वैल्यूज, मैनेजर्स बैकग्राउंड, इंटरपर्सनल स्किल, डिसीजन मेकिंग and the influence of political context. Next is diversity. Diversity basically reflects the differences, unlikeness, variety, multiformity. So diversity basically can be characterized by the education, religion, population, caste, commitment to social equality, affirmation action, gender, language, etc. All these are the dimensions of diversity. Now, how to manage diversity? Diversity can be managed by arguing at the cost factor, resource acquisition के through, marketing argument के through. Creative argument are the part of managing diversity, problem solving argument and system flexibility argument. All these arguments basically helps to manage the diversity. There is a 3-stage model. First one is monolithic and homogeneous organization, pluralistic and heterogeneous organization, and the third one is multicultural organization. Monolithic organization consists of decimation, prejudice, occupational segregation, majority influences minority. Right? Pluralistic and heterogeneous organization helps to learn in managing diversity. It has more heterogeneous memberships, focus on equal employment opportunities and emphasize on equity in employment and pay high degree of intergroup conflict exists between minority and majority. True values diversity, that is extensive awareness training and skill building, that comes under the multicultural organization. Extensive awareness training and skill building, reciprocal driving of and influence of minority and majority, open-minded, flexible and willing to learn from other perspective, recognize, appreciate and work effectively with diversity. These are the 3-stage model which actually specify the organizational learning at different level. Before we end, there is a do-it-yourself exercise. First question is, what are the 3 levels of uniqueness in human mental programming? Second question is, what are the sources of learning, and explain organizational learning. With this, we are going to finish this session. Thank you.